It could be. that I got it. Okay, we are now having our meeting. And it is Thursday, April 17th, 2025. This is Senate Committee on Institutions, and today we have BGS in to talk about Department of Public Safety. If we have time, we're going to talk about H50, depending on how all that goes. Then we're also going to have the Commissioner of Department of Housing and Community Development. And we'll also talk about clean water, and we'll have the Secretary in. So it will be a good meeting. So, Commissioner Manoli, would you like to be in the witness chair, or do you want somebody else?
So regarding public safety and the Capitol bill, I'm going to have Director Asia lead that discussion,
Okay.
and I will be on the sidelines for you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
And we remember Mr. Asia.
It's from yesterday.
Yeah,
For the record, Joe Asia, Director of Design and Construction with Buildings and General Services.
okay, and so this is section 13 of our bill. There's just a couple of items.
On 108 and 109, we have the Rutland Field Station. Rutland Field Station is actually going to be located in Clarendon. We'll be moving south a little bit on the other side of the city of Rutland. We purchased this land around 10 plus years ago, right after or as the construction was going on with the Westminster Public Safety Facility. That was going to be the next one in line to be constructed. But due to the condition of the building in Williston, Public Safety wanted to move forward with the Williston facility first. So that is why that one has gone forth. And now we're coming back to getting Clarendon up and running for design and construction. We already own the land. So that's already done. We have an RFP that is out for advertisement right now for design. And once that, our designs are cookie cutter back from the day that we started in Derby, Vermont with our first facility. And it's the building shaped like an H, so that depending on what district you're in for public safety, you can expand and contract the sizes of those buildings without much changes. So the Williston facility is our largest facility in the Westminster. Both of those facilities have public safety answering points in them. So did Derby at the time. And Rutland also used to have a public safety answering point. So
Answering points.
That's E911.
EPAC, or, okay.
it's the E911, so
Okay.
it's
The
the people
dispatch,
sitting in the room for dispatch, yes.
okay. Thank you.
Is how that works. Yeah. So where I forget the exact schedule on the design process, it's probably gonna be close to a year for us to get a design in place, get our permitting in place. Right now, there is no public septic sewer in that location. At the time, there is a force main going by. We had rights to that, but because we had moved on, we gave up those rights, so we have to investigate that again to see whether or not there's still allocation enough. If not, we'll do an on-site system. So we're looking to, because we haven't gone out to bid yet. We're looking for our funding for FY27. And now because we'll be completing design and be ready to go to construction. Because the following year, we'll be looking for additional funds. Based on our estimates, we're looking at probably total cost of $7 million.
Okay. Are you saying you don't need the FY26 funding?
The spreadsheet for Rutland, I think we had FY26 funding.
Oh, I see. Well, it was 4 million in FY27 and the governor's recommended, and then it was 2 and 2.
Splash down to, yeah, so while the house spreading around, so if our design gets done faster, we can go out to bid sooner. So I think that, if I remember the discussion now in the house, it was really, could you use some additional funding in FY 26. And they thought we did, so they split it 2 and 2.
And does that seem practical to you right now?
It can work. If we can get our design completed ahead of our proposed schedule, then we'd be able to go into bid sooner.
Okay, but so in terms of timing, it's not definite, but the total dollar amount is necessary.
Yeah, that's one. Yes, it is.
Yes, good.
So would you rather it be the governance?
I'm happy with this. Richard, do you have any?
I think what's most important is appropriating the funds so we can advance this construction project. It's been needed for a very long time. I think what we are saying is if the bids come in and the design is good and we have the money in 26, we would be able to continue moving it forward. If something does not work out in that time frame, then we may not spend. So we just don't want to be put in a position where you say, why didn't you spend that money in 26? It would be really how they responded to the RFP and how quickly the project moved.
Okay,
But the totality of 4 million is an absolute.
and the total project, you say
This is
7?
about 7 million.
Right. But we would move to cash flow next year. That's
That's
where
fine.
we would have enough to start. And then we'd be coming in the following year for the balance.
Actually, since you mentioned cash, I thought we like to do design with cash. That's our goal.
This here was for construction. We have money for
Design,
design.
that is not here. That is not in this.
Like there was money appropriated last year.
So, just a second. Oh, the computer is on well.
Didn't want to work yesterday either.
Time for a new computer.
Get in line.
Capital expense.
Hopefully it's not that fancy.
No, this is for design and construction.
So just to stay true to our funding theory that we do design with cash dollars. It's relatively new. It's a couple of years old. Where we had the cash fund. That's why we had the cash fund.
And so that was one of the reasons for the cash fund, but I think it was just how where the governor put the proposal together, how they associated the cash with the certain projects. And then the House rearranged some of them, like we were looking at $8 million for major maintenance. In the House, we moved roughly 800,000 of that. Or left 800,000 in cash and then the rest of the bonding. We also have like River Junction at the courthouse down there, and that is 8 million in cash. That was in the recommend.
So what's the amount of design in this project? The dollar amount.
We're probably around,
20% of 7 million.
okay, if you're going to 20, yes, it's around, 600,000.
Okay. All right.
And that then runs us also through construction administration is part of that design also.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Next up for public safety is Shasberry Field Station. The Department of Public Safety was looking to get a jump on their next field station. And so what they were looking to do is Shasberry is up next. Right now, that's been a lease space for well over 30 years that they've been in and feeling cramped and tight and looking for a new facility. So the 150,000 and FY 27 is to start that process of basically finding land to start that process. We go out, look for land, If it's suitable, then perhaps put an option on it. And then in the future, FY 28, 29, start the design and construction process.
Okay, so right now you're only looking at the 150,000 in 27.
That is correct.
Okay. And again, it's in bonded, but to me, it sounds like a cash item, but we can talk. I don't think it makes a difference to the agency, whether it's cash or bonded.
So what we try to do, and it's not picking the type, Wanda Manoli, Commissioner for the record. And so I'd love to have this conversation further with you, because when we look at our capital projects as a whole, we should be trying to spend the cash first. So it's not the title of what it is. What are we advancing? And I think that's the example where some cash was put into major maintenance, because the members know we're gonna get major maintenance out the door. It's gonna get spent fast. So because and so I would be really, I'd like to have this conversation a
Yeah.
little bit more, because when I'm looking at the planning and looking at making my recommendations and suggestions, it's about the timing of what we're doing. Right? So, for example, security, there's money in there. Are we gonna spend, do we have a list and are we gonna spend that right away? And if we are, let's use the cash, because we wanna spend cash before we start bonding for money, right? That's the logic behind it. And then there's short-term borrowing, bonding, and then there's long-term, so.
Yes.
Yeah, so I haven't been sitting here as commissioner, Madam Chair, saying this category should be cash or this category. It's looking at everything that we're doing and how quickly is it moving.
So we should have that conversation.
We should.
Because
Yeah.
that's fundamental to how we budget. And my understanding is that cash is for certain types of expenditures, not necessarily the when it will be done.
Okay.
Obviously, it's intended to be spent in the fiscal year that it's in,
Yeah,
as opposed to carried over, for sure.
correct.
But it's intended to be spent for things like design, exploratory, issues, not capital.
Yeah, that,
And the bonding is supposed to be reserved for, what is considered just traditional capital, so buildings, things with a 20-year plus lifespan.
yeah. And
Because you might do design and never build the building. That's why that's one of the reasons the cash fund was,
yeah, I'm more than,
established.
I would really appreciate having further conversation
Okay.
about that. Cause I wanna make sure we're all in the
Total,
line.
no, you need to be, yes.
And sometimes you gotta play a little defense too, as far as the way you put these projects out there, because the history of anytime we put that cash out there, it seems to be not coming back over from the house. And so, there's sometimes they're gonna say, well, okay, well, this project's probably pretty important for us, so probably we better bond it just to make sure that it can get on this construction schedule and not have our cash all end up missing. But again, I mean, it needs to be, I'm glad, Madam Chair, you're gonna have that conversation, because it needs to be a broader discussion amongst in this whole building about, hey, we're strategic, we're being strategic with what we're trying to do. We're trying to get to eventually, if everything all works, to a non-bonded type situation where we can fund the capital bill with all cash, but it has to remain in the bill for us to be able to accomplish that. So I would love for you to start that conversation. That would be great.
Yeah, and we have had that conversation, but not with you evidently, so you need to be president.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so Scott, do you have anything to say at this point?
Good afternoon, Committee. Scott Moore, Legislative Finance Manager for the Grand Fiscal Office. I do not, but thank you.
Okay. All right, so that is Department of Public Safety. Yep,
Yes.
there's nothing else,
There's nothing
okay.
else.
So I think we have time to talk about H50.
Perfect. I think it's nice. I'm great. How are you?
So. Commissioner Manoli, you were here a little while ago about this, and I'm kind of refreshing my memory.
I think so.
I think we talked about the internal service fund, fee for space.
Talked about a lot that last time.
We did, it's only a page and a half, but there's a lot going on in that little bill.
Well, actually, so if I can, H50 that was introduced in the House was a significant change that was being proposed to the duties of the commissioner. And it was asking that I collect data and that I report on all the state's property, and including underutilized lots and population centers that could be converted for housing. That was the original bill. And, excuse me, working with the House, we reset. So we spent some time talking about my existing authority. So the intent of this language, so currently every year, BGS is required, and I brought it, to produce a space book. And the space book is state-owned property, leased property, land holdings, tower leases, rest areas, vacant property, vacant buildings. It's broken down by towns, it's broken out by departments, it's square footage, it identifies the capacity. And so I said to the House, we have this information and we report it every year. What we don't collect anymore, and what the statute currently allows us to collect is, so we used to collect the property under the jurisdiction of A&R, under the jurisdiction of AOT. And we used to create a section in the space book of other property owned by other agencies. And that was under their jurisdiction. And we just report it. We just collect it and we have it. So what the intent of H50 is, and it is language that I supported and worked with them on, there's two changes in and in the bill, in section E of current statute under title 29-165, the language says the Commissioner of Buildings in general, current language says shall maintain an inventory of all state-owned buildings. The House added and land. And so we didn't oppose that. And then it's also amended in section G that when requested by the commissioner, so it was an option, it wasn't a requirement. Though now the statute is amending it to say that annually I will collect this information. And then the newest section, which is J, is now stating on or before January 15th of the new legislative biennium, the commissioner shall submit to the House Committee on Corrections and Senate the inventory maintained under subsection E. So we used to present this book. We stopped what the language is saying now at the beginning of the biennium. And it is online. You can see it now. We'll make sure that it's there, available, and it will be presented. I'm not opposed to this language, Madam Chair. We're doing the bulk of it now. It is really, it is a very thorough, Eric's team maintains it. It is detailed on our inventory. It's you can see everything, as I said, square footage, who it's assigned to, vacant. It will, identify what we currently have vacant, where we lease space. And it's a tool that we use all of the time. And that's where the fee for space came in our discussion, Madam Chair. So this data is the base along with the actual cost. But because we're moving people around all of the time, and when we're setting the fee for space rate, we always go back 2 years, but we apply it. So if you're the Department of Buildings and General Services, and you move out of 1,000 square feet And labor and industry, no, they don't even exist anymore. The Department of Labor moves in. This is how we adjust. This is the square footage. This is the inventory. This is what we use to say who's going to pay for what. So we're not adding, all we are including now through a form, we will communicate with the other agencies and say, please provide us a list of your inventory. We will include that list of inventory into the book.
Okay, great. Does anyone have any questions? So I have just a couple. So, it says state-owned buildings and land. Is this not state leased, but not owned buildings and land?
So it says we maintain an inventory of all state-owned buildings and lands. And so that's interesting. We also do leases and others, but it doesn't specify that.
So are leases in the space book?
Yes,
Well, then I
yeah.
think it should say state-owned and or leased.
yeah, we do state-owned lease, land holdings, tower leases, rest areas, all under BGS jurisdiction.
Okay. So I think or leased would include everything.
Yes, that's totally fine.
Okay, great.
You know,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we're doing it.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, the way I read this on line 14, the head of each agency shall prepare and forward to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all of the requirement really is on all the other agencies.
Right, and then through a format that we would create that they fill out.
And and so it used to be when requested by the commissioner. So
Yeah,
did
correct.
you, is this gonna be a big deal for them?
I can't answer. I don't anticipate. I see it as a
Okay.
simple form and filing. Give us your current inventory and we figure out how to incorporate it into the book. We're not gonna ask them to recreate. We'll probably work with them and evaluate how do they capture it now and how do we bring that into the document. I don't want to recreate something.
No, of course not. Okay, good. Just wanted to double check.
Chair,
Yes.
just, I guess to that question would be, how often are you doing it?
We do it annually.
Oh, okay.
So we do this, right now we're working from 24.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind, Madam Chair, I'm just going to Director Pembroke, team leads it. Do you start in June
Yes,
of every year? So we'll be doing the 25
that is correct.
by July 1.
Okay. For BGS, we are not, for the record, Eric Pembroke, Director of Planning and Property Management, we are not pulling in the other agencies today.
Not today, that's correct. That's what this bill is going to have us do, is to pull in.
Oh, so you're doing it. We are just doing our BGS, okay, managed, owned and leased property.
So there was a point in time that we used to, I love history, but I can only find so many pieces of paper at the BGS. We used to collect it before, and Eric and I tried to figure out, it was probably early 20s, in the early 2000s, that we stopped collecting it. We don't know why. It was just a section in the report, and it was really land holdings of other agencies.
Right. It's good to have that all in one place. I mean,
Yep.
from a management point of view and
Right.
like liability insurance. I mean, there's a lot of good reasons to have it all in one place.
But we don't want to, it's not our intent to recreate. I mean, if they have it in a spreadsheet and we can use it to fit it in the document, that's what we're going to do.
Right. Okay, so a couple more questions. So the original intent was to identify property that would be suitable for housing. Is that going to happen some other way?
So first of all, BGS should not be doing evaluations and identifying if vacant property or land is suitable for housing. We don't have that expertise. And so it is your inventory of property. I want to be able to provide you with the data and then you can explore it.
But you will have land now, so
And we
that
do
will
now.
be what people can look at if they want to.
Yeah, so we currently do.
Oh, okay,
And
I just have a couple
You want me to, oh, okay.
but
So we currently do, and then there's a section on our current vacant buildings. Those are usually vacant because you've directed us to sell them. That's really how the process works.
Okay. Great, and then I just wanna understand the labels. So rentable area and billable area.
So could I ask which copy of which section you have? I'm just
Well, here,
curious.
can
Why
you
is your
start?
Facebook so much bigger than?
I don't know, because this is the space book.
Right, that's just a sample. Well, no, that's just,
Yeah, you
just show her the page though, cause it's the different things, different areas might.
Of course, he turned the page. I have no idea what.
Alright,
Well,
Which one?
here, I'm gonna go this side.
Yeah, I've got it. I think I just like.
Yeah, let me help you.
Okay, we are working on the same page. So this,
Plugging rule.
Thank you.
this section identifies by town what state property is there. There's the next number, it's the building number. This one is the courthouse and the office buildings in Washington County, the address. It identifies who the occupants are and then which organizations. And then it identifies the square footage that is usable essentially. And then when you get to the rentable area, because how we do fee for space, so you'll have your square footage that's for your programs. But depending on the building, there may be shared space, there may be shared hallways, there may be shared bathrooms. There could be shared service areas depending on the program. And so that's the rentable area.
So just, so I understand, so rentable is rentable kind of from you to the agency who's using it.
And that's how we calculate the
Okay.
fee for space.
Okay,
That's that connection.
okay,
And then the occupants, Eric and I have talked about this. This is not the best definition because it's not the physical occupants. This is the workstations. So when we look at that particular space, what we have captured is there are 40 workstations there. And workstations are really dependent on programs and services. So you might go through this book and see a larger square footage and a smaller number, but it could be because they're all engineers and architects and they're taking up more space. Or they're family rooms where you're meeting with customers and or families. So that's what that document, that's how
Okay.
that's broken out. And and then I'll leave this book with you if you'd like.
sure.
And then there, like, you would go to another section that you don't have, but I just want to go to one. So, and then I'm just gonna show the committee, right? So here lists all of our state-owned space, the square footage of what's rentable, who's renting it, and it shows you that we have 3,062,985 square feet of state-owned space that we're managing. Then it's broken down by lands, then it could be broken down by county. And then we have a section that is where we're currently leasing, which I think would be interesting for you all to look at. And I can.
Where
this
you're
is-
leasing it from somebody else.
Yes, and
Got it,
who's
okay.
there and how many seats are there. So it's really a very detailed, important document.
Yeah,
And I'll be happy to pass this down, and if you want a copy of it.
sure, yeah, let's have it,
It's
we can have it in our
online.
library.
So you can
Yeah.
also
Yeah,
go,
there, this one.
How about this one?
Okay.
Cause I can see it, right?
you can also go online to the Department of Buildings and General Services and click that on and you'll be able to see it. So I believe in the back of that, Madam Chair, I think it's around the back section, because I just gave mine away. We have a section on vacant space, right? So that's sort of where the heart of the bill came from. But, well, there you go. So
Okay, great.
that was, so with the original intent of the bill, working with the committee, I asked that we come back to the model and method that we have in place, we expand on it. And then you as a legislative body can look at the data and have discussions with the appropriate entities on if you want to explore other opportunities.
Great. One more question from me, I think. Do you have different rates in different areas? Like, do you charge in Chittenden more than you charge in Broward?
Yes, and I could get you a summary.
That's
if
okay,
you
I
would
just wanna-
like. So there's a couple of things. Correctional facilities, are, done differently. Obviously, they're 24/7. So Montpelier, the complex is a fee for space, grouping. And so we take all of the cost, heating, electricity, rubbish removal, etc. And that goes in and we look at what is the annual cost of that. And then it's distributed out. So Waterbury is another grouping that we do. Springfield could be the Springfield State Office Building, but we don't keep the correctional. Cause that would make their fee, if the occupants of the Springfield office building had to pay for the cost of corrections 24/7, their fee for space would be through the roof. So it is broken into regions, and it's based on actual cost.
Okay, so if you own the building for 50 years, there's not gonna be any mortgage, right? It's just an operating cost of that.
And you always give us appropriation to purchase outright, directly. We've had a couple of we've had some TIFs and we've had the parking garage in Rutland. There's been some unique buildings that there has been a mortgage or a debt on. But I think we only have one left. I don't know why I'm looking at you, Scott.
I know lots of things.
That's right, that's why, but we did pay off the Asa Bloomer. I think that one's paid off and I'm drawing a total blank because I feel like we have one more that we're still carrying.
108.
108, thank you.
Gone.
And that we have a sales
For
purchase
sale.
and sale, and so that will be gone with the purchase and sale. There may not be a whole lot left to reallocate, but that's okay. It's a debt gone, right?
Right, right. Okay, that's helpful. Yes.
The Windsor prison is not 24/7.
The Windsor prison
How do
is
you-
being
yeah, how-
mocked, but I mean, it's basically Windsor prison is. And I'm looking at Joe the question I'm asking myself is, are we carrying the cost of operating Windsor or is corrections?
I believe we are. No, corrections is out.
I
I believe
think-
it's all us,
It's
which is then spread out through the whole state.
then, yeah, so there is a cost to Windsor.
Right, I mean.
We have it at minimal, we're heating it, we're keeping the lights on, because, as mothballing it is
Yeah,
not the best
yeah.
thing.
Correct.
You don't want any pipes to burst or.
That's correct. If you want, I can find out what it's costing us
Yeah,
annually,
I do. And I know that we're recouping some of that cost because we are charging public safety a small portion of fee for space because they are using portions of it for dog training, for trainings,
Okay, so what is the annual cost right now?
plus or minus 250,000.
And that's,
No, that's good to know. And that's operations, right?
Yeah, we're probably paying plus or minus 50 of it.
Okay.
so, it is work for the committee and the administration to talk about future use of buildings. And I think reintroducing the space book, and starting to have these conversations and all working from the same page of data and looking at it, it can be extremely beneficial.
Definitely. Okay, yeah, great. So you would be the only testimony that we're having from 850. So
I don't
Unless
think you
you-
need us to make any out.
unless you need,
No,
look at
Good.
something else, we're gonna
but we do support the
consider.
bill that came out from the House as it passed the House. And I have no issues with you adding those considerations of being specific about the leased property as well.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So 2:30. Our next person is coming at 2:45. So let's adjourn now. We'll come back at 2:40 in case